In this edition of Generations, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and we talk to the Connecticut chapter of the Alzheimers Association for the latest on this condition. Are you having issues with your healthcare insurer? Find out how the Office of the Healthcare Advocate can help you. And Judy James from seniorcenterct.org talks about friends and how we socialise today. Hello, I'm Brian Scott Smith, and welcome to Generations, a new podcast for people of your generation. June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and a condition that still carries so much stigma when discussed. So, what is the reality around Alzheimer's, and what resources are out there to help those with it and their families who are caregivers? I spoke to Christy Koval of the Connecticut chapter of the Alzheimers Association recently, and began by asking her to explain their work.
The Alzheimer's Association Connecticut chapter, we serve the whole state. We are the largest voluntary health organization that serves people with Alzheimer's disease and their caregivers. And we provide a number of different programs and services. We provide free educational classes all over the state. We do information and referral, education and training. We have a 24-hour helpline that caregivers can call, people with the disease can call, professionals can call. We also have a wonderful website, alz.org. If people have questions or need more information, maybe they have a question about memory, or they have someone diagnosed with the disease and they need some support. We run 90 support groups for caregivers, and then we also run groups around the state. They are for people in the early stages of the disease and their care partners. So they're early stage engagement groups, they're social engagement groups. And we also provide and do advocacy both on a federal and state level, and we fund research. So we are the largest private nonprofit funder of research in the world.
So, Christy, tell me a little bit more about the statistics of people that have or are living with either Alzheimer's or some form of cognitive issue in Connecticut.
Here in Connecticut, there are 78,000 people living with Alzheimer's disease, with 178,000 caregivers. Nationwide, more than 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. And we anticipate that that number will develop to nearly 14 million people by 2050. And, the reasons for that, because we get that question, is we are living longer. Age remains the greatest risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. And because we're living longer, more people are developing the disease. There are some other types of risks that people can have, whether it's genetic risk or a brain trauma or things like that. But age remains the greatest risk factor.
Talk to us a little bit about, obviously, research. As you said, you are the largest organisation in the world that's undertaking research into this. We don't hear a lot about, the latest research. Is there anything that you can share with us that may be up and coming or just isn't being reported widely?
And it's a wonderful question to ask. So this is actually a very exciting time in research. We, through our advocacy efforts, Alzheimer's disease research funding at the NIH has quadrupled in the last several years because we've really pushed Congress to increase funding. So there's a lot of exciting projects happening. There are so many things on the horizon, including, a possible vaccine, biomarkers, a blood test or an eye test to determine whether or not a person has Alzheimer's disease. And one of the exciting studies that we realized last summer was, aggressively treating blood pressure was shown to reduce the risk of cognitive decline. So we are extending out that study. And we are also leading, right now, we are recruiting participants for a study called the US Pointer Study, which is a lifestyle intervention trial that's looking at people in the risk factor for developing the disease and then proactively treating them, whether that's in intervention with sleep, exercise, social engagement, or diet, to see if, addressing those factors will reduce the risk of cognitive decline. This was a study that was done in Finland a number of years ago, and we are now doing this study here in the United States. It's called the US Pointer Study.
The other thing I wanted to pick up on as well with you, Christy, is my understanding from my research, and obviously please correct me if I've got this wrong, but I understood that Alzheimer's affects more women than it does men. And if that is the case, do we understand why?
And you are absolutely correct. It does affect women more. And really, it's because women live longer, which is why we are at greater risk. And, women are also, disproportionately affected in terms of caregiving. As you know, many caregivers are women. Many caregivers are in that sandwich generation where they are struggling to take care of an aging parent who has the disease and then younger children.
Now, of course, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. So what sort of events is Alzheimer's Association, the Connecticut chapter, going to be putting on that, people can be part of, that they can maybe get resources? Because as you said, you do a huge amount of things. So give us a taster of what people can expect or, to be part of.
Absolutely. So June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month, and we are turning Connecticut purple to spread awareness of the Alzheimer's Association, and to share also that it's time to talk about memory issues. We want to use this month to be able to share that people can have those conversations with family members about their memory concerns and how we can help with that. So as we know, early diagnosis is critical to be able to plan for your future and be able to enroll in a clinical trial. We are turning some things purple. For example, the Chihuly statue at Mohegan Sun. We are also the Whale Tail in New London. We are going to be doing some purple at the Hart Auto Group showrooms, Bradley Airport. We are having a awareness night at the Hartford Yard Goats on the longest day on June 21st. So we also are going with storefronts, and then news anchors are going to be wearing purple on June 21st, which is the longest day of the year.
We live in a world where we consider ourselves educated and, sort of like understanding of many issues. Why is it that we still have an issue as society with mental health issues? Why is that stigma still there, do you feel?
So that's a really good question. And I think, for a disease like Alzheimer's disease, I think we've seen a lot of strides and improvement in terms of talking about it. So for example, the conversation, we've been able to raise a lot of awareness about Alzheimer's disease. We've been able to showcase, and also celebrities have now been coming out and telling their personal stories so that we can actually reduce the risk of stigma. There still is a stigma around this disease. The brain is a very complicated, organ. So it's when people are having memory issues, it could be memory issues, but it also could be Alzheimer's disease. There's still that sort of misconception, if you will. And, we do have a ways to go, but it has improved.
Now, one of the things I want to pick up on as well is clearly we all have memory issues now and again. That doesn't necessarily mean that, we have a deep or debilitating cognitive issue. But that said, what sort of signs should people be looking out for?
So on our website on alz.org, we have the 10 warning signs for Alzheimer's disease. And we get this question a lot because, as everybody does it, you walk into a room and you can't remember why you walked in there, or you can't find your car keys, misplacing things. Those types of things, that is not Alzheimer's disease. I like to give the example that if you lose your car keys, that's not Alzheimer's disease. If you're holding on to your car keys and you don't know why what they're for, what even they're to be used for, that could be a problem. So it's memory changes that disrupt daily life is kind of the underlying theme. People can have memory changes, after, in their 30s and 40s and 50s, and that's very, very normal. We do encourage people that have questions about their memory to go get tested, and getting a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease is a diagnosis of exclusion. So it requires, blood tests, scans, other types of cognitive tests to sort of rule out other things, because people could have a medication interaction or a urinary tract infection that could, cause sudden change in memory. So we want to make sure when people are calling that they get fully checked.
And also, just for clarification, Christy, is Alzheimer's hereditary?
There is a small percentage of the population that there is a specific genetic link. We do tell people that if you have a familiar connection with the disease, that you want to make sure that you're on top of things. The relationship in terms of genetics, it's with developing a younger onset and a very specific and small percentage of the population, but this disease does not discriminate, and so it can impact really anyone.
Also, of course, you mentioned the huge amount of caregivers and caretakers in this state and obviously across not only the nation but the world. What sort of resources are available for them?
So we provide through our helpline, which is 24/7 in multiple languages. We also provide care consultation services where we'll meet with people with the disease and their families. We do, the number of educational programs, support groups. The Connecticut chapter offers respite grants to families. So if they need some monetary assistance to, be able to bridge that gap in terms of care, we're able to do that, but we're also able to bridge them to resources at the state level, which it could be the Connecticut Home Care Program for Elders, or be able to talk with them about elder law attorneys with diagnostic centers or trials they may be able to get involved in. So we really want to support the family going through this process.
And final question, and thank you so much for the interview. What takeaway message do you want to leave with listeners?
So we want to make sure that we share with people that they know they're not alone. If they have questions about themselves, about their loved ones, about a neighbor or a friend, they should go to alz.org or call our 24-hour helpline, which is 800-272-3900 anytime. We are open 24 hours a day for questions, and we want to be here to help.
Christy Koval from the Connecticut chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. Thanks ever so much for the interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
And those details again, if you or a family member are dealing with Alzheimer's, the website is alz.org, or the 24-hour free helpline is 1-800-272-3900. Now, healthcare and health insurance in the US seems to be constantly under the spotlight, whether it's the cost of health insurance or medication to people being denied health coverage. But help is at hand in the state of Connecticut if you are having trouble with healthcare issues. The Office of the Healthcare Advocate is a free service in the state and deals with thousands of cases each year for Connecticut residents. Ted Doolittle is the healthcare advocate and talked to me about what his office does.
Well, I do refer to it often as the best kept secret in state government. We are an independent state agency, by which I mean we don't report up to the governor. We have a level of independence. And we have two main functions, the first of which is to act as the voice of the healthcare consumer on policy issues. And we interact with the General Assembly and the governor and with industry to try to identify problems and make things better for healthcare consumers. But the most important function is the second one that I want to focus on, which is that we can help folks like you or your listeners, their neighbors, their loved ones, friends, what have you, who are having trouble accessing healthcare. And in particular, we can help folks who are struggling with health insurance issues, whether that's a problem getting health insurance, like health insurance selection, or whether it is a problem with using your health insurance. The most common type of case that we handle, Brian, for the residents of Connecticut is a matter that where care has been denied. Either a prior authorization has been denied by your insurance company, or the insurance company has received a bill that they then deny the claim on. And if that is the situation, and you reach out to us and you fill out the appropriate paperwork authorizing us, we can act on your behalf almost like a private attorney would with your health insurers or with your healthcare providers or both, to try to get you out from under whatever financial obligations you are incurred. So, in other words, we help you fight with your health insurance companies, and that's in a nutshell. That's the main service that I want your listeners to know about. If they have a tangle with their health insurance company, we have a staff of nurses, attorneys, paralegals, and others that can help them for free.
Now, a lot of people who will be listening to this are slightly older, maybe tapping into such things as Medicare or Medicaid. Are you able to help them with those aspects as well if they're having some issues?
Absolutely. We can help folks with any type of health insurance or other things that are like health insurance that aren't called health insurance. Medicare and Medicaid, which is known as Husky in our state, we absolutely can help folks with that. There also are alternative types of health insurance, like short-term plans that folks have when they're between jobs. Now there's increased focus on something called an association health plan. And there's also healthcare sharing ministries, which are offered through religious groups, not exactly health insurance, but any type of mechanism, public or private, where people are trying to get their health care covered, whether it's technically health insurance or not, we can help them fight with those issues.
Now, you said at the top of this as well, Ted, that you are a state agency, although you do not answer to the governor. So clearly independent. Tell us a little bit more about that, because people will want to know, obviously, for clarity, that it's great that you're there. You've mentioned that you're free, and we'll get onto that as well. But this whole independence thing, tell us about that.
Yes, well, our office was formed in 1999, and then the statute was adjusted and modernized a little bit in 2005. And it was felt that it would be important for an advocate on the behalf of the citizens of Connecticut who was fighting with the health insurance companies, which are a strong and powerful lobby, to have some type of independence. And so here's how they set it up. I am appointed by the governor, and I'm confirmed by both houses of the General Assembly, but to a particular term of years. So I have a 4-year term, and I'm halfway through my first 4-year term. The agency is funded not through the general budget, but rather through a fee that's imposed on the insurance company. So the industry funds us directly. But we do have, as I mentioned, the independence of my being appointed to a term of years. So, for instance, when Governor Malloy left office and Governor Lamont came in, he asked all of his agency heads to turn in their resignations, and in some cases he accepted them, in some cases he didn't. My office was not asked to turn in my resignation because they knew that I was appointed to a 4-year term. The other aspect of the independence is that the governor is not allowed to pick just anyone for this job. There is a body, an advisory body called the Health Care Advocate Advisory Committee, and those folks are appointed not by the governor, but by the legislature, by the leadership in the legislature. Those people every 4 years, or whenever there's a vacancy in the office, come up with a list of folks that they deem to be qualified, and the list has to be 5 or fewer. So they come up with a list of up to 5. The governor can't just pick anybody in Connecticut. The governor has to pick one of the 5 that's recommended to him or her by the advisory committee. So those are some of the aspects that create some feeling of independence. And as I say, I don't in any sense report to the governor. We don't have other agency heads probably have monthly, I don't know because I'm not involved, but they probably have monthly or weekly meetings with the governor's office. We have nothing like that on our side. We work with them closely, but it's as a stakeholder and certainly not as a part of their organization.
Tell us a little bit about the size of your staff.
Sure. So we have 18 positions, and that's myself plus 17 others. I'm appointed, as I mentioned, but all the others are regular civil service state employees. We have a legal team, which is composed of 2 attorneys and 2 paralegals. We have 4 nurse consultants who can help with cases where it's a issue of medical necessity. In other words, where your doctor the insurance company is trying to override your doctor, the insurance company doctors are trying to override your doctor. So we need that clinical expertise. So we have nurses. We have another profession on staff where we have 4 consumer information representatives who are expert at helping people on the phone and through email and so forth, navigate the system. And then we have a couple of support staff who help answer the phones. And there is also, we have one manager on staff called the healthcare program manager who triages the cases as they come in. And we get quite a volume of cases, and certainly we can talk about that as well if you'd like.
Yeah, I was just about to say, can you give me a rough idea how many cases per year you're currently dealing with?
Yeah, so we get anywhere from about 5,000 to 7,000 cases a year. They range in complexity from somebody who just got insurance, never had insurance before, and they get a bill in the mail, and they don't know why they got a bill because they're insured, and we look into a little bit, and we find out that they might have a high deductible health plan. So yes, it's kosher. You have a deductible. Here's what a deductible is. We might coach them, and that type of call can be taken care of in 5 minutes. On up to something where there's a family with a sick child who needs some type of lifetime care in the house, and there are objections from the insurance company or something of that nature. And in those cases, we might have a series of denials that go on for months or years, and we could have a relationship with that family for literally years. So the cases do range in complexity. A bread and butter case, and we handle all types of different issues, but a bread and butter, just to give your listeners an idea, case might involve as I mentioned before, a medical necessity dispute where the insurance company doctors don't think something that your doctor prescribed is necessary. And then we would get involved in the insurance company's internal appeals process. You are usually entitled to one, sometimes two levels of appeal within the insurance company. And our nurses, or if it's a legal case, our attorneys or paralegals will, given the proper authorization by the citizen of Connecticut, can represent you and draft that letter on your behalf, get the sometimes voluminous medical records from the providers on your behalf, and just handle the actual appeal of your healthcare denial. So that's a little bit about our staff and what they can do for you.
My thanks to Ted, and if you need the services of his office, their website is ct.gov/OHA, or you can call them on 1-866-466-4446. And again, their service is completely free. And finally, Judy Jenks from seniorcenterct.org is back. Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So this time, talking to us about where are my friends and how we socialize today.
Yes. Hey, where are my friends? We look around in today's world and often notice we are looking down at a device rather than at each other. It wasn't long ago, if you were waiting for your appointment, your turn to check out, or for the movie to start, that people were actually talking to each other. The chatting might have been about the weight, the weather, or other insignificant things, but we were engaging with each other. We humans are social animals. We fail to thrive as babies if we're not held, talked to, and loved by others. The same holds true throughout our lives. We don't want to be by ourselves 100% of the time. Oh, we like our alone time, but soon find we want to be out and with others. Often the problem arises in today's world of how do we make new friends, how do we get together. We have our routines where we go to families for the holidays, off to this friends for 4th of July. We belong to this club and volunteer over there. Then time passes. We have moved, they've moved. There was a spat. The club or volunteer work is no longer rewarding. Friends and family have died. We're more alone than we want to be, and it's hard. It has become harder to make new friends. Where do you find them? How do you start? You could start by making a list of your friends and add to that a list of people you know who you might like to get to know better. Now think about the things that you like to do or want to do. Try to pair up those things and those people on your list. When you think it might work, invite them to join you on that yard sale adventure or to go to the museum, or how about the farmer's market? You won't get a yes every time, but keep trying. Don't give up. Try again. And just try saying hi to everyone you encounter during your week. Be the person you're looking for. Yes, I know it's hard, but they're looking for friends too. And remember, Senior Center, CT.org is there to help you find those activities, events, and trips to ask others to join you in. Set a goal. Make 2 new friends this year and do 3 things you've never done before. And that can lead to a fuller and more engaging life.
It certainly can. More of your lovely poetry. I'm not going to say you're getting good at this, because you are good at this. So.
Thank you very much. You've made me think that perhaps I have a book in the making.
I think you do. I'll buy it. So interesting topic, because you and I are friends, but we didn't know each other before, obviously, before all of this. And it was a chance happening at a business meeting.
Yes.
And there you go. So like you said, you should say hello to people wherever you are. I mean, it totally is right.
And it's really, if you just say, hi, how are you today? It's relatively easy to engage with most people. It's not hard.
No, absolutely. You don't have to be the same about everything either. Sort of thing. I mean, you can still have all of your different sort of like things that you like. But no, you're right. I mean, we have sort of isolated ourselves a little bit, haven't we? And I think that's every generation. I don't think that's because we like to blame certain generations and say,
oh no, I think it's across the board. I think that at certain points in our life, we're in situations where it's just a natural thing to make friends. You get a new job, you meet new people. You start to go to lunch, and it just evolves from that. And then I do believe the devices, we escape into them. When you and I were at that chance encounter at that business meeting, we both could have been looking down at our phones and been busy, not playing games, but been busy on our phones. But instead, we chose to say, hi, how are you today? And then we started asking each other about, well, what do you do? And this is what happens. So it's not going to happen every time you say hi. Sometimes you can start a friendship and be like, whoa, that person's not for me. That's fine. And then just be friendly, and you're going to attract people that want to be friends.
It's interesting as well, because I think, and I'm going to be a little bit sort of like critical of some of the younger generation, because I went to an event recently, purposely. I was asked by the school, and there was other adults of sort of my age and younger, and we were there to talk to the students. They had just done like a career fair, and they said, look, we want them to get their soft skills up. And they find it incredibly difficult to talk to older people. Because they are buried in their devices.
And also, the families aren't as engaged and out and about, so these young people aren't necessarily interacting with people they don't know. So it's all of society needs to be responsible for all of society. And if we want to be friendly, we want to make friends, we need to do that too. Absolutely.
And devices can help, but it's about, actually speak on the phone rather than just send a text message all the time.
Yes, it is. That when that person is checking you out at the grocery store, say, hi, how are you today? And see if they want to have a little conversation. Sometimes you can learn a lot. Sometimes, it's just about the weather, but it's still conversation.
It certainly is. Judy, as always, it's lovely chatting to you. And obviously I'll be checking somebody out at the grocery store now. I don't know if you will be, but
I'm always saying hi to everybody. It doesn't hurt.
We could have some more new friends next time we speak.
Yes, we could.
Take care of yourself. We'll catch you next episode.
Okay, have a great day.
That's all from this edition of Generations. Don't forget to visit seniorcenterct.org to find out what's going on in your neck of the woods. And if you want to send us a topic to talk about or want to be our guest on the podcast, drop us a line by visiting seniorcenterct.org website. Go to the bottom of the homepage and click the How to Advertise with Us link to get in touch. From myself, Brian Scott Smith, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.